on to 3.12, Chancellor's reports.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome, trustees, President Reese, members of our community, and all of the people who are listening. Normally, you know, I do the president's reports, and I am going to do that. I'm going to go in my normal order. But before I do that, I really want to just spend a few minutes thanking Maisha Jameson for her contribution to our district since, what was it? I don't know, October? I'm just going to take the liberty. Yes, let's give her a hand. And you can thumb up, you know, your reaction or whatever if you can. I don't know if you can or not. But let me just say that Maisha Jameson, she came in, she stepped in. There was nobody in the chancellor's office. She had new trustees to train. We had retreats to give. We had papers to sign. And, you know, we were working remotely. We couldn't, it was like, wow, amazing.
Fun stuff.
And then on top of that, she started helping run the participatory governance meetings. I'm just telling you like it is, you know, and she would answer emails, she would set up, you know, meetings, she would populate committees. And then, as if it wasn't bad enough, she served on the search committees to help us with finding a new board clerk, who I'm going to introduce in a minute. But then she trains the new board clerk, right? So Maisha, listen, you know, I just want you to know how grateful I am for everything you've done for our district. And I want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being there with us, for being completely professional, never missing a beat, and just really, really bringing it on. It is amazing. And we are going to miss you tremendously. Now, I know they're going to love you back at Laney, but we know where you live. We're going to come get you when we need you. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you guys for having me. It's been fun and a learning experience.
Very cool.
Thank
and then we have Sasha Amiri, who just began with us. Sasha, you can raise your hand. Everybody knows who you are now. But she's been with us now for almost a month. And so she's gone through the paces. She's been working closely with Maisha and Mark Johnson and Royal and other people in the district, Roy Roberts, our chief of staff. And Sasha comes to us, as you know, she's a board clerk. She's a notary public. She's got extensive experience working with boards. And we are just thrilled to have you with us. So
thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And if we were in a public space, you know, I would be giving presents and stuff like that, elbow bumps or whatever. But so thank you so much. And with that, now I will turn it over to our president, Dr. Angélica Garcia from Berkeley City College.
Thank you so much, Dr. Walter. Good evening, members of the Board of Trustees, colleagues, community members. I have a few comments that I want to provide in my oral report in addition to the written news for the board report. The first is I do want to begin by anchoring my comments in the deep connection and solidarity with the Asian American Pacific Islander community. As our ASBCC President Liam Zhu shared, BCC held a community gathering last Friday during our community hour in response to the hate and violence being perpetrated upon the AAPI community. What I really am proud to share is that community attendance was strong and the space served to be both healing and a space for action. And I have learned and was deeply touched that we had several BCC community members sign up to become patrol volunteers or escorts throughout the East Bay AAPI community, especially for elderly and women who often are the victims of really aggressive attacks. So my commendation to the ASBCC students, student life and campus activities for pulling that together and for the way that our community showed up. On the same theme, I want to take an opportunity to invite everyone who is viewing this board meeting to join this Saturday, March 27th from 1 to 3 p.m. for the Silence is Violence, Stop AAPI Hate. This event this weekend is near and dear to my heart as a co-founder and executive board member of Colegas, the community college Organización de Latinx Advocacy and Guidance for Success. We have formed a coalition with APAHI, which is Asian Pacific Americans in Higher Education, and AMEND, the African American Male Education Network and Development. And so this coalition of these three large organizations are coming together and have been for the past year around equity and racial justice. And this weekend's event, which I've learned earlier today, we're already at about 900 registrants, is showing up for our AAPI community. So I look forward to seeing you there, and I'll drop information in the chat a little bit later. I also want to take a moment to share that in a future board meeting, we're going to see the Ccap agreements coming forth on dual enrollment. So it's no mystery, it's no surprise that BCC, along with my sister colleges and throughout the district, we're all looking to do our part to address issues of enrollment management, to really look at what we need to do to support not only access to our colleges, but also the support to retain and for students to persist all the way to completion. And one of those strategies for BCC has been working in partnership with our local K through 12 districts to increase our dual enrollment, which I'm pleased to share that we continue to see growth in that particular area. So our first Ccap agreement is going to be coming through from Emeryville. And what I want to note about this is that the curriculum development within these Ccaps has really been intentional. It's been explicit. The focus is to provide access to students, our high school students, to and through educational programming that might lead to a pathway for completion upon their high school graduation. So I'm really proud of the work that faculty, academic deans, instruction, and the collaboration truly of instruction and student services. I also want to share that we, along with the other colleges, had a remarkable Flex Day last week. It was vibrant, it was alive, and they're just rich development opportunities. I am so proud of the work that Berkeley City College is doing to continue to provide high quality teaching and learning inside and outside of the classroom. So faculty had the opportunity to engage in equity-minded lesson planning, and I had the chance to listen to some phenomenal idea sharing that faculty were doing in that session, as well as student services hosting a professional development opportunity where over 50 attendees engaged in a session called Interrogating, and I'm looking at this one, Interrogating Practices to Improve the Student Experience and Success, Becoming Student-Centered, Student-Ready, and Equity-Focused. And my favorite part about that activity is that students were a part of that development, and they were threaded throughout the experiences and gave our colleagues some wonderful feedback and ideas about how we can continue to serve students. Because of course we are here for the students. And my next announcement is also in the news for the board, but I'd like to elevate it here, is that our very own Berkeley City College student, Nadine Ordaz, earned one of 104 community college spots from across the nation for the NASA Community College Aerospace Scholars Program. So she participated in this 9-day experience. And where I want to leave comments related to this is that it was her experience with Dr. Mark Rinker in a linear algebra class in fall 2020 that sparked in her the interest to pursue this, that supported her to have the confidence to apply, and is just a constant reminder to us that we touch the lives of students in sometimes the smallest of ways. And in that teaching space, Nadine certainly got the support to pursue this. So we're very proud of her representation, not just of BCC, but of our broader Peralta Community College District. And as Terrence shared earlier, I do want to close my comments with a recognition of Miss Loretta. I know it's Loretta Newsom, but 46 years of service is a long time. 46 years of connecting with students and their families and the communities is a long time. And so It's always bittersweet when you want to wish your colleague well, while also acknowledging that she will be missed and her absence when we do get to return to campus will be missed. And in my comments to her, it feels so weird to say goodbye to someone that I've not yet had the pleasure to share space with. So I have vowed that I am going to connect with her post-COVID so that she and I can have lunch or coffee, and I too can share the warmth that Miss Loretta has shared with BCC. So with that, I will conclude my remarks for this evening on behalf of Berkeley City College. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. Dr. Nathaniel Jones, the third from the College of Alameda, please.
Okay, good evening, President Reese, trustees, Chancellor Walter, colleagues, and guests. I am pleased to provide a brief report on the College of Alameda's work in supporting our diverse student body. At the College of Alameda, fostering an inclusive and welcoming learning environment is one of our highest institutional priorities because it reflects our cherished and deeply held value of diversity, equity, and social justice. Because of these values, we issued a statement denouncing racism and violence against our Asian American Pacific Island community in the wake of the horrific shooting that occurred in Atlanta, Georgia this past Tuesday. We expressed our support and solidarity and affirmed our commitment to diversity, equity, and social justice. We also shared resources that are available to students, faculty, and staff to help deal with this horrific event. Our Accesso program serves and supports Latinx students attaining a certificate, degree, or transfer within 3 years. The Accesso program is open to all students. Our Accesso students recently shared their experience with the program and its impact on their lives. Students reported receiving encouragement, motivation, support, and help. They also communicated feeling loved, seen, and being part of a family. Similarly, our Puente students work closely with their counselors, English instructors, and mentors to prepare for transfer to a 4-year college or university. These students express similar experiences and impacts. College of Alameda, Umoja, and Accesso programs have partnered with financial literacy expert Jason Matthews of Matthews Financial and Insurance Solutions to present a series of virtual workshops designed to familiarize students with practical strategies for budgeting, savings, credit, building and repairing credit, and investing. The first workshop, Living Beyond the Next Paycheck, Developing Strategies for Budgeting and Saving, was offered on Thursday, March the 11th. Other workshops included Credit 101, What is it? How do you build and repair it? Investing for Beginners, Myths and Misconceptions will follow over the next few months. Our disability support program and services is changing its name to Student Accessibility Services to better reflect the services that we provide to our students, but express it in a more asset-minded language. Our professional staff work with each student to provide accommodations that ensure equal access to all academic programs and to promote students' independence so they may realize their academic potential and reach their goals. Several College of Alameda faculty and staff attended the Alliance for Hispanic Serving Institution Educators conference this past week. ASI aimed to strengthen practices in institutions of higher learning to ensure that Latinx students thrive academically, professionally, and personally. The practitioners the conference featured an impressive panel of educators, thought leaders, and practitioners from diverse fields and backgrounds. Topics included faculty knowledge and skills for teaching minoritized students, the effects of AB 705 on equitable student and Latinx students in transfer level math and English, innovation, cultural responsive engagement in STEM, as well as other really important topics. Following the conference, our director of Hispanic Serving Institution Grant and the Acceso and Puente program, Mr. Lira, convened a meeting of our faculty and staff to reflect on what we learned and to develop actionable goals that would move our college towards achieving the Seal for Excellencia, which is recognized in colleges and universities for institutional serving Latinx students and to demonstrate positive student outcome. Lastly, the College of Alameda will take part in a community service survey for student engagement, also known as SESI. We'll deploy this survey this week. It's a nationalized survey to survey students and was developed by the University of Texas at Austin. The service is designed to gauge student college experiences regarding classroom instruction, their relationship with faculty and counselors, as well as the college support for their learning. The survey will help us to better understand our students' experience so that we can serve them more effectively in the future. This concludes my report, and I thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Jones. And now we will go with Dr. Rudy Besikov, president of Laney College.
Good evening, Chancellor, members of the board, and colleagues in education and community partners. Tonight, my report is really about coming together and just have some wonderful things to share. First of all, on March 11th, representatives from Laney College, along with others, representatives from the other Peralta colleges, met with 9 area high schools to collaborate on things such as student support, outreach, recruitment, and enrollment. Really had a chance to come together, learn about each other's systems, the K-12 and the community college, and about student support, had an opportunity to network and build some relationships, and also identified some next steps for graduating seniors. Certainly this is a buildup and something as we move toward seeing more of our students in OUSD transition and become students at Laney and Peralta. You know, that's a nice description, I guess, and one of those things where I wish I had been there. But guess what? I actually did get a ticket to come to something just like that. I was so thrilled today to attend the Pacific Islander Icuna Laney College collaboration. The Icuna Group is a local community organization that supports Pacific Islander students. Specifically at Laney College, they support the students in the Icuna Student Club, the Pacific Islander Club. And today was just an awesome event. In addition to the folks that lead that group, OUSD's Asian Pacific Islander Student Achievement Program, they had representatives there. And from Laney, we were very well represented as we welcomed prospective students in areas including counseling, enrollment services, our career center, CTE faculty member Sapo Su in our HVAC, environmental control technology, also came and spoke about the experience of studying in that program. And we were also privileged to have financial aid and outreach in attendance as well. And just want to thank Minerva Perez for putting that together, as well as all the great colleagues at Laney. And it was something that was really awesome. Speaking of awesome things and coordinating efforts, I want to give a shout out to Marla Leach and Felipe Wilson, as well as all of the presenters and all those who made time, classified professionals, faculty, administrators at Laney College Flex Day. I think it was a great moment to come together. And one of the things that we did talk about, of course, was the recent news of the violence to our API community. And sometimes it's an awesome thing to see people come together. Through the conversations we had and that continued over email, we actually came together. It was all of us that put forward college and community resources. And under the leadership of our folks in student services, especially Atia Rashada, we actually put together, we updated our campus resource guide, and it is now a campus and community resource guide with a number of resources that are out there to help and support students, especially during this time. And really throughout this, I think two messages came across. At Laney College, we absolutely condemn racism, violence, and hatred toward all of our great communities in Oakland. And right now, of course, we are mindful of our API community. We also affirm that Laney remains committed to providing a welcoming, empowering, learning and working environment that celebrates the diversity and inclusivity that defines us. And really just the work that came forward, I can't stress this enough. It really came out in some great messaging that really was a collaborative product. First to our students, then to our employees, and then finally, and I know I brought these groups to the board, the more than 25 API business and community leaders and leadership entities. We reached out to them to say that we supported and got responses from groups such as the Oakland Chinatown Chamber of Commerce. So this really is a time and a report about coming together, and I just wanted to take a few minutes tonight and share that with everyone. This concludes my report.
Thank you so much, Dr. Besikov. And then we'll turn to Dr. David Johnson, president of Merritt College.
Thank you, thank you. So good evening, President Napoli and Bella Reese, Board of Trustee members, Chancellor, colleagues, students, and community members. I am pleased to report that Merritt College is nearing the completion of the hiring process for our Vice President of Administrative Services position. Now, given the ACCJC feedback we received regarding the absence of a Chief Financial Officer at the Vice President level and the concerns that the peer review team noted regarding issues of fiscal management in Standard 3, finalizing the screening process in the next few weeks, I believe is critical to getting us to where we need to be. So to that end, I want to personally thank President Tom Rembarger and our Academic Senate, as well as President Tashetta Henry and our Classified Senate for formally endorsing the Vice President of Administrative Services position. Now, we expect that the new hire will make an immediate impact in the areas of budget development, fiscal oversight, facilities operations, enterprise services, campus safety, and IT. And we anticipate bringing this position to the Board of Trustees for your consideration at the April 27th meeting. Next item, the National Association of Student Financial Aid Officers, or NASFA, recently ran a story on our very own Ernesto Neri, who serves as the Director of Financial Aid for Merritt College. At the beginning of this academic year, Ernesto was one of only 6 individuals nationwide to be selected for the NASFA Diversity Leadership Program. So NASFA commended his passion for leadership and mentoring, and that was a commitment that was forged when he was an undergraduate student. And at that time, Ernesto saw firsthand the complex system that students were forced to navigate to pay for college. And it was a result of that experience that he wanted to ensure that, in his words, students feel welcomed at our college, are aware of financial aid opportunities available to them, and have access to apply and receive institutional, state, and federal aid, regardless of race, gender, socioeconomic background, or identity. So congratulations, Ernesto, and keep up the amazing work. And I just want to take a moment, speaking of work that needs to be applauded, I wanted to express my appreciation for our colleagues in student services right now, who are working very hard, and they do it without fanfare most of the time. They're doing it to support our students during this very challenging period. Our student services team members, when you think about it, they're frequently encountering and engaging students when these students are at their most vulnerable point. I think it's important that we recognize how their commitment and expertise enable our students to manage their affairs outside of the classroom so that they can be more successful in their classes. So at Merritt College, I just wanted to note that our folks are working wonders in financial aid, A&R, counseling, FYE and Sankofa, Next Up, EOPS, student activities and campus life. I know I'm probably gonna leave someone out, CARE, CalWorks, athletics, outreach and orientation, and health services, as well as SAS too, can't leave out SAS. So I salute and thank you all. And finally, just in closing, I just wanna echo some of the sentiments that were already expressed in terms of solidarity with our Asian American and Pacific Islander communities. I think that the crimes that have been perpetrated, here in our community, in Atlanta, and across this nation really underscore the need for us to not only express our full-throated condemnation of hatred, intolerance, and xenophobia, but also take steps to actively confront it. It's just not enough to say thoughts and prayers. We need to actually do something about it. And what that means is, in my view, not abiding bigoted sentiments, even when they come from our own families and peer groups. As I've often said, it's not okay to racialize the violence when it happens to us and then rationalize it when it happens to someone else. We need to speak out and stand up for each other when someone's being racially assailed, and we need to remember our common humanity as we support each other in this process of collective healing. So that's my report for the evening. You all be safe and be well.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. I just want to add a few things here to the Chancellor's reports, and then we'll leave open for questions. First of all, I just want everyone, particularly Classified Senate, Terrence, for your comments regarding the return to work protocols. And once again, I want to voice to this community that we are in the process of establishing those. We are reconvening this week our Emergency Operations Center and the Chancellor's Task Force on Public Health Emergencies. And at that time, we'll begin looking at vaccination policies and kind of putting together the process through which that'll flow through our shared governance groups on campus and through the district and up through the board. And so I just want everyone to know that it's there are many, many steps that we need to go through, and we are working on them. As far as the equipment and making sure that we have the facilities that we need and all of the partitions and barriers and all the other pieces of equipment that are necessary to keep everyone safe, that is in process as well. At this point in time, we are working remotely. And so we're grateful that we have this time, but I want to assure everyone in the community that we are moving forward in the direction and make sure that everyone is safe if and when the board determines that we will be coming back to work in physical space. And having said that, I also want to briefly mention that the Ingenesis people have been working with us. There have been some glitches that we are trying to iron out, but we're also very mindful that through our colleague Etheria Smith, we're looking at ways to engage our students in the screening process so that we can transition when the time comes when there are more people coming to our facilities and who might need screening. And then I would just like to add the final note here regarding testing for our athletes. We realize that's very important. That agreement has been signed. I don't know, maybe the message hasn't gotten through, because I will acknowledge Coach Beam's point that things are bureaucratic in our district. We're working on trying to shorten some of those processes as well, but we have approved that agreement to move forward for testing athletes. So with that having been said, again, I just want to thank everyone here and the presidents for their reports, and I'll turn it back to you, President Reese, to see if there are any questions from the trustees.
Thank you for that, Chancellor. Do we have any questions? Are there any trustees that have questions or comments for the presidents and or the chancellor?
President Reese, I have a question.
Yes, trustee.
Thank you. Thank you, Chancellor Walter. I have some more questions about the Ingenesis report, Ingenesis contract. Are you able at this time to give any more details as to the performance of that contract? Heard from a number of the people in the community that the screenings aren't necessarily happening in the way that they should be happening, specifically at some of the campuses. So can you speak more to in detail about the performance of that contract?
Thank you, Trustee Jenkins. No, at this time I really can't. And so if you have information that you could forward to me, that would be really helpful. And then we can take a look at it internally and see what perhaps we need to address.
So Trustee Jenkins, I think if you could send that, that would be great. And then if you could, Chancellor Walter, come back to the board and let us know what the situation or performance or response to Trustee Jenkins would be at a board meeting, that would be appreciated and fantastic. Thank you.
Sure.
Question.
Trustee Handy?
Wasn't that already submitted for this agenda? The questions for this on Ingenesis?
What I had submitted to the chancellor was a performance update, and so maybe the specificity of maybe what has been heard on the ground level could be given to Dr. Walter or myself, and to Dr. Walter, so that if there's specific information that we need, it could be responded to.
Yeah, I'd like to know how it's working, how many people are actually working. I'm hearing things that make me very uncomfortable, and the board should be updated on that. That was the point of the request. So an update means, is it working? How many people are there? How many people are being tested? Are people showing up? You know, all of that. It's not a real hard piece.
Okay, so then what we'll do, Dr. Walter, now you have a few pieces of information that we'd like specific input or feedback to, and if you could come back to the next board meeting, or even if you have the information beforehand, and then you could send it as an update to the trustees. Both would be good, but instead of waiting 2 weeks, I think Trustee Jenkins would probably like the response maybe to all board members beforehand. We'd appreciate that. Thank you, Chancellor. Trustee Withrow, I'm not sure if you had a question. I can't tell. Okay. All right. Let's move on then. Again, presidents, thank you so much for your reports. It is so incredible. I know that President Bonilla had said this in the past, but I have to reiterate what she said. It is so hard to believe that we are not at the district, that you are not at the colleges, that we are in COVID because of all the things that are happening. It's amazing work. And I continue to applaud your leadership, the faculty, the students, all the individuals working, the administration, all the individuals working in the colleges. It's fantastic to hear and very refreshing. Thank you. Let's move to the consent calendar. Can I have a motion for the